Great. Welcome, Mr. Teppi. Richard Spohr, I see we have here as well.
Yes, I am with Tom Tepe, the same firm, representing the owner.
Okay, great. So you're both at KMK appearing as attorneys for the client, correct? Okay.
That's right.
All right, fantastic. Welcome. And see, we also have Matt Lascheid here from the planning department.
Hey, David. Hello, everybody.
Hey, Matt.
It's my understanding too that a representative of the owner was just going to listen in, Tammy Ferrara, and I don't know if that's reflected, but I know she's just being just listening in.
Okay, great. So yeah, you can listen in through the stream that's going right now, but you can also join. We're not waiting for her to actually join the meeting, is that right?
I think that is correct. I think she's just listening.
Okay, great. So we're ready to get started then. We're ready to get started.
Yep, we are.
Okay, great.
That's a
Okay.
cue for me to. That's a cue for me
No.
to go.
No, it is not. No,
Okay.
not yet. I just want to confirm that we're not waiting for anyone else to actually join the meeting from the
think that's
owner or applicant side. Okay, let me go through my spiel here. I need to read through our hearing script. This will just cover the procedure for the hearing and then we'll get started. So this is the February 26, 2025 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. Again, my name is David Sturkey. The case before us today is case number ZH20250002. That's 1 East 4th Street. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If we did have anyone here from the public, they would have an opportunity to present after the applicant had presented its case. I'll hear from the zoning plans examiner here, Matt Lascheid, to offer any testimony in addition to a staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any spirit to ask questions or to make any comments. Let's see. I think that's it. Because we have 2 attorneys here, I don't believe that you need to be sworn. And so I will forego that with you, but for Mr. Lascheid, let's go ahead and get you sworn in. If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Mr. Seppi, I know you're aware of this process. I'm pretty liberal on how you want to orient your presentation, so I'll turn the floor over to you and let you get to it.
Thank you very much. We're going to keep it very short and sweet. We took great pride in filing a fairly detailed application. The property is located on the corner of 4th and Vine, the southwest corner of North and Vine. It's a major intersection. The building is very strangely oriented as it relates to the right-of-way. The actual door is more like 20 feet from the right-of-way, but there is a cantilever or that first floor kind of overhangs. So therefore, technically, that's where the distance would be measured from. And again, this is a 275,000 square foot multi-tenant office building that does not have any ground sign, wayfinding sign, which is very strange. I can tell you from firsthand, being a tenant in the building, it is difficult for people to find the building, despite the fact that it's there. There are no identifications for our law firm, for any other tenant in there, unless you do a trial and error and walk in the door. A lot of times they go to 3 East 3rd Street, not 1 East 3rd Street or 1 West 3rd Street, which is the building across the street. Speaking of the building across the street, that is the old Central Trust Tower. That is built to the right of way. And one of the things that the city is trying to protect here is that you don't have signs that are stuck in the middle of the sidewalk, right? And hopefully you've had a chance to review our filing, and you'll see it's going to be on a raised plaza that's already separated from the right of way, from the walkway or the sidewalk through a couple of steps. So there is no interference with or clutter, as it was used, with the sidewalk as people would go up and down it. And again, other major office buildings have this wayfinding sign. It just has kind of the unique situation where this property has got a cantilever. It's more like 20 feet, but technically as you have to drop down the cantilever, I think that's 8 feet 3, but it's a little bit of a misnomer. But other than that, we reviewed the staff report and I think Matt, really nailed it on the head.
Okay, great. Yeah, Matt, let me go out of order here real quick, Matt. It looks like they are entitled to a ground sign. Is this just relief from the setback for that ground sign?
The way that the ground sign regulations downtown are worded is a little bit different than elsewhere in the zoning code. The intent of the language is that if your building is right on the sidewalk, which most are, you wouldn't have a ground sign. If your building is set back behind a plaza space, which this building is, then you can have a ground sign. That is the intent. The way that it was worded, because there might be buildings that are set back a foot or two from the property line, but they're still functionally on the sidewalk. The way the code was written is that if your building is set back more than, I think it's 25 feet. Yeah, if your building is set back more than 25 feet, then you can have a ground sign. And the ground sign would be in the plaza space in front of your building. If your building is set back less than 25 feet, then you cannot have a ground sign, as Mr. Tepe outlined, to prevent the ground sign from obstructing pedestrian traffic.
Got it. Okay. And if in those cases where you are allowed to have a ground sign, building setback more than 25 feet, does the proposed ground sign for this project comply with all the other dimensional requirements of
Yes.
ground signs in that
Yes.
case?
Yeah, the only relief needed is to have a ground sign in the first place.
Got it. Okay. Mr. Tepe, what are the proposed dimensions of the ground sign if you have that?
Oh, yeah, we've attached that. One thing I wanted to point out too is that the bank is a tenant on the first floor, which causes further, they have a sign right above, the door, which causes further confusion. We've attached those specs here. If I look at this correctly, and Matt, please correct me, you're better at reading these than I am. It looks like it is, the height is the base is, the height of the sign is 43.3 inches from the base, and call it 60 inches wide, 10 inches thick. Is my understanding that other than the variance that's being requested, it otherwise complies with the sign code. Matt, would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have right now, for
This-
the applicant.
Yeah, this
And-
page really helps. This page that shows where it's located. It's really going to be on an existing sort of wall, if you will. So it's separated by I don't want to call it a fence, but a decorative line of demarcation. So there's a well delineated between the sidewalk and where the sign's going to be.
Got it. Okay. Thanks, Mr. Steppe. Matt, is there anything else you wanted to go over or provide on this project?
Generally, I would say that although the sign package does not meet the letter of the law, I think it meets the intent of it. As I said, the intent is that if you building is right on the sidewalk, you don't have a ground sign. If you have a plaza space in front of your building, that you are permitted to have a ground sign. It was written with a 25-foot dimension. I'm not exactly sure where that came from, but and as Mr. Tepe outlined, it's kind of an unusually shaped building where there's a cantilevered portion that goes over the plaza space, which impacts the setback. We measure the setback from the closest point of the building to the property line, even if, and this is the only time this has come up, but the closest part of the building is 15 feet above the ground or whatever. So it's definitely an unusual circumstance given the design of the building. So that meets one of the standards for variances. And then the other is that the request is a substantial property right enjoyed by others in the immediate vicinity. So we've walked around downtown and looked around 4th Street, and our zoning administrator and I researched some case history, and there were other variances that allowed other ground signs along 4th Street. I think a block or two away from here. Let me see, I think I wrote it. 201 East 4th Street and 301 East 4th Street also have similar ground signs. And This address is 1 East 4th Street. So, within a couple blocks on the same street, they were approved to have variances to allow a ground sign, or they already had one. So it is a substantial property right enjoyed by others in the immediate vicinity to have a ground sign like this. There's no adverse impacts anticipated. As outlined, it's on an elevated plaza space behind a fence, so it's not going to impact pedestrian travel in any way. And it's human scale, as Mr. Tepe outlined. It's something about 4 or 5 feet tall and about 5 feet wide. So it's perfectly appropriate in a context with a lot of pedestrians. It's not a very big sign that would overshadow folks. It's not going to be very bright. It's not an EMC or anything. It's just a modest monument sign that's designed to match the architecture of the building. It'll help with wayfinding, and it won't get in anybody's way. So for all of those reasons, staff is happy to recommend approval.
Okay, great. Well, one last question, Matt, just so I make sure I understand this correctly. If this building is the building set back 25 feet?
No.
Okay. What is the setback of the building? Like how short is it of that 25-foot requirement?
So
ground sign.
the cantilevered portion is about 8 feet 3 inches from the sidewalk. So that's the closer portion. And then there's this recessed first floor that's something, I believe about 18 feet from the property line.
Okay.
So
just shy of that 25 feet requirement.
it is still, yeah, whichever way you measured it, it would still be shy of that requirement.
But only
But
by less than 2 or 3 feet.
by about 7 feet if you measured to the front door, because the requirement's 25 feet and the setback to the first floor is 18 feet, give or take a couple inches.
Okay. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate your testimony and your work on the staff report. I'll turn it back over to the KMK here. Anything you want to say in response to my questions or Matt's comments?
No, it's been a struggle for us sometimes to kind of describe, where we are. Hey, we're at the corner of 4th and Vine, but you have the bank right there. And, there's some vacancy, in downtown office market, and the downtown office market is, not as vibrant as it has been prior to COVID. I know that there are some spaces within this current building that, are currently, available. So I think this would go a long way in helping the ownership also, further market and give some advantages, some wayfinding for these vacant spaces that, everybody downtown desperately would like to have filled.
Okay, great. Anything else in closing or otherwise before we adjourn?
No, sir.
Okay, great. I think we can leave it at that. I've had a chance to review the application materials and the staff report. And based on that and on the testimony and clarifications here today, I agree that it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this application. And I, am very familiar with the downtown area and recognize that both 201, which are, really similar style buildings, and I think that's the new one, right? The Great American Tower. They also have ground signs that are similar to this. So again, it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code of this project. So I'm going to approve it. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. That typically takes about 2 weeks. I'll do everything I can to get that to you as quickly as possible. As soon as I finish that, I'll put it into a PDF. I'll email it to everybody in the hearing here today. You'll have a copy of that really just moments after it's complete. And once you have that, Matt can approve the zoning permitting on his end, and you all can take the next steps.
That I was going to say, we need to wait for that approval prior to submitting for permits.
I think Matt, you may want to jump in here, but I think before the permits can issue and some steps can be taken, you need to wait on that decision. But I think you can apply for your permits now. It'll just get sort of paused or hung up until Matt approves the zoning permitting on his end, and he needs my decision to do that.
That's
I think
correct.
that
Yeah, you can submit for a building permit. Just keep in mind that zoning cannot approve it until that decision comes, but that may give an opportunity for the building inspections department to review it, DRTE, or any other department that needs to review it. So you're welcome to apply at any time.
Yeah,
we can pick
get
up
the
some time by
process started.
doing it and just waiting for the decision.
Yep.
Great.
Up to you. All right. Well, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out, or if you just want a status update on the decision,
No worries.
Tom, feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, good luck